October 6, 1973. On Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Jewish calendar, the borders of Israel were suddenly overwhelmed. An alliance of Egyptian and Syrian forces launched a massive surprise attack that the Israeli military was completely unprepared to stop. Within 48 hours, the situation turned so desperate that Prime Minister Golda Meir held an emergency cabinet meeting where every official was handed a cyanide capsule. The instruction was simple. If the government fell and they were captured, they were to take their own lives. In that same meeting, Meir issued an order that the world didn't know she was capable of. She activated Israel's secret nuclear arsenal. At the time, no foreign intelligence agency could confirm Israel even had a bomb. Had Meir authorized a launch, the retaliation would have likely pulled the United States and the Soviet Union into a nuclear exchange, ending the world as we know it. These weapons were never intended for a traditional battlefield. They were a final, desperate failsafe, designed to ensure that if Israel was destroyed, it would not go out alone. The path to that moment began in 1948. Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion spent his nights staring at maps of a country surrounded by hostile nations, with vastly larger populations. He realized that Israel could never win a long-term arms race using only conventional soldiers and tanks. Having lived through the Holocaust, Ben-Gurion viewed a nuclear bomb as the ultimate insurance policy for Jewish survival. He believed that the only way to prevent a second genocide was to possess a weapon that made an invasion unthinkable. But he lacked the two things required to build one: a reactor and uranium. His geologists found nothing but sand in the Negev desert, and the United States, under President Eisenhower, refused to provide the technology for a reactor. Since the international community wouldn't help them, Israel's leadership decided they would have to acquire the ingredients through a global campaign of theft and deception. Their first break came in 1956, during the Suez Crisis. Israel agreed to a secret barter. They would attack Egypt to provide a pretext for a French invasion, and in exchange, France would provide Israel with a nuclear reactor. Construction began, but the partnership collapsed in 1958 when General Charles de Gaulle took power. He immediately cut off all nuclear support, fearing that helping Israel would destroy France's relationship with the Arab world. To save the project, Shimon Peres launched a rogue operation to bypass the French government. He turned to the black market, secretly hiring French engineering firms and scientists to smuggle blueprints and reactor components out of the country against their own president's orders. Israel replaced their canceled diplomatic treaty with a state-sponsored smuggling ring, spending millions to keep the supply chain moving in the shadows. This is a U-2 spy plane, the model that photographed a massive construction project in the Negev desert in 1960. The CIA spotted a large domed building with no roads leading to it, signaling Israel was building more than just a factory. Israel claimed the site was a textile factory, but President JFK didn't believe the lie. He demanded that American scientists be allowed to physically inspect the facility to prove it wasn't producing plutonium. Mossad agents responded by turning the site into an elaborate film set. They bricked up the underground doors leading to the plutonium labs and hired scientists to pretend they were local mayors, distracting the American inspectors with hospitality and rehearsed technical scripts. Through this fabrication, Israel managed to blindfold the world's greatest superpower, keeping the true nature of their desert facility a complete secret. By the late 60s, the reactor was ready, but it was missing its fuel, uranium. To get it, the Mossad created a fake company in Germany, claiming they needed the mineral to manufacture industrial detergents. This map shows the route of a cargo ship named the Scheresberg. In November 1968, it left Belgium with 200 tons of raw uranium, with official papers stating the cargo was destined for a port in Italy. The line on this map breaks here, in the middle of the Mediterranean. The Scheresberg vanished from radar, transferred its entire cargo to an Israeli ship in the dead of night, and reappeared days later in Turkey under a new name with empty holds. This stolen shipment of uranium crossed the final threshold, transforming the Dimona facility from a hollow building into an active bomb-making factory. By the 1973 Yom Kippur War, those bombs were ready. Golda Meir ordered 13 of them to be moved into launch positions, intentionally timing the transport so that American spy satellites would record every mile of the journey. This was a calculated move to force the United States to act. The White House knew that if Israel used a nuke, the Soviet Union would enter the war to support Egypt, likely starting World War III. Fearing a global catastrophe, the U.S. administration immediately flooded Israel with the conventional weapons it needed to win. This massive influx of tanks and jets allowed the battered Israeli military to turn the tide of the war without ever having to pull the nuclear trigger. The bomb achieved its purpose through the threat of its existence alone. It allowed Israel to survive by effectively holding the world's stability hostage. To keep the peace, Golda Meir and Richard Nixon made a pact of nuclear opacity. Israel would never test a bomb or admit to having one, and in exchange, the United States would stop asking questions and pretend the arsenal didn't exist. The secret remained intact until a botched Mossad mission in Norway following the 1972 Munich Olympics. Agents hunting for terrorists mistakenly killed an innocent man, leading to the arrest of several Israeli operatives. One of those agents broke under the pressure of interrogation. He confessed that his name was on the registration for the Shearsburg, the ship that had vanished in 1968, confirming to the world that Israel had indeed stolen the uranium for its bombs. Today, Israel exists in a permanent paradox. They built an apocalyptic defense system through global theft and deception, a weapon whose power comes from everyone knowing it exists, while officially pretending it never happened.